So I shape on a wooden cutting board, and I like to use rice flour. It doesn't stick as thickly to the outside of the dough as just regular all-purpose flour does, but you can use either one. I could get the Goya rice flour. It's pretty cheap at the grocery store. And I just kind of put a little bit of flour here. Because I have two, I'm gonna do one circle and one oval shape. Now I'll show you. Circle is the easiest unless you buy something like this, or you can use, maybe if you have a bread pan and lay a towel in there, you can take any bowl and lay a kitchen towel in and make sure you flour it really well. This has kind of built up an exterior so the dough is less likely to stick to it. But if you just take any kitchen towel and lay it in a bowl or like a bread pan and put lots and lots of flour, your dough won't stick terribly and it should come off fine tomorrow. So I'm gonna use my bench knife to cut my dough in half. And I can tell, sometimes I'll like do a slightly floured hand so the dough doesn't stick as much. It feels much softer and lighter than it did this morning when I first started mixing it. Just gonna flop it on there. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is kind of spread it out and get some of those air bubbles out. The yeast has been producing air gas bubbles, which is great, but you kind of want to degas it when you shape it. So I'm gonna spread it as much as I can and just kind of flatten it with my hands. I don't have to pop every air bubble, but I'm just pushing the air and the gas out of the dough. And then again, since this is 2, I'm just gonna eyeball the middle and try to cut it in half. So I will show you the round shaping first. This thing is super handy. It's kind of like an extra hand that the dough doesn't stick to as much. So if you find the dough is kind of sticking to you, it can be helpful. So I'm gonna pull out and bring it across, and then I'm gonna come to the opposite side, pull out and fold it over. I'm gonna grab here, pull it out and fold it over. And then last, so I have a loose little circle, and then I might just kind of pull and tuck any edges that are not quite conforming and try to pull and bring them all to this middle here. And the more surface tension you can build on your dough, the better your chance is that it will have a nice oven spring when it rises up. So you can also achieve that by kind of pushing and pulling and using the tension of the board. You can see like there's a little air bubble right there. My sleeve is falling down. When small little pieces of dough fall off, I try to just leave them to the side because they're not going to incorporate back in at this point. So I can feel the top of this is just nice and like smooth. And then I'm going to take my banneton and I'm going to put the dough in. This time we're going to do seam side up, because when I flip it out tomorrow and it's time to bake, the seam will be down, and then I can score anything I want into the top. The other option is you could put it in here seam side down and then flip it out so that the seam is up and you don't have to cut your bread at all. So you can do whichever you prefer. Tomorrow I'm going to shape this into a pumpkin. And right now I'm gonna cover this. It looks like a shower cap. They're reusable bowl covers, but you can use shower caps or just plastic or something to cover your dough and then put it in the refrigerator for at least 6 hours, up to 24 hours, but that's it. I'm just gonna sit it in my refrigerator until I bake it tomorrow. So now I'm going to shape my oval loaf. Oval? I don't know. The other shape. This one I typically make just pretty plain, and it slices really well for actually eating. So I'm just kind of like loosening up all of the edges where it was sticking to my board. I have a nice little rectangle here, and I'm gonna start by folding the top third down and then like using the heel of my hand to like seal it. And then you take the corners and fold those in, and again you kind of seal it, and then you can roll it nice and tight here. Kind of like tuck and roll. And sometimes I'll flip it and kind of do that a little bit looser one more time. You just kind of like roll it over like a sleeping bag. Just to really help get the tension on this part here so that I get a good oven spring, because when I cut it down the middle and it's baking, I want it to like spring up. I like the way that looks. So I'm just kind of pinching these seams together. And you can see some like light little bubbles on the surface. Nothing huge. And then again, I'm gonna take this one, Banneton, and put it in seam side up and do a last little pinch to keep it all together so it doesn't unravel. And I'll cover this, and then I can show you tomorrow some scoring options, or really what I just do for a normal loaf of sourdough.